right, guys, Wes here. Welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be talking about Cyberpunk 2077's huge update that is going to be dropping very soon. Now, with Cyberpunk 2077's first paid expansion getting closer, we've been slowly drip-fed more information about it, and so far everything looks really good. This infamous RPG may have gotten off to a rocky start, but the future is extremely bright. And in today's video, we're going to be going over everything that you need to know about the upcoming Phantom Liberty expansion, as well as the massive 1.7 quality of life update. Well, real quick, guys, I would like to thank today's video sponsor. Welcome to Honkai Impact 3rd, a 3D cross-platform anime action game from HoYoverse, the makers of Genshin Impact and the upcoming Honkai Star Rail. Honkai Impact 3rd is coming with loads of new changes with the 6.5 update, including the new character Susanna, whose playstyle will merge dance steps and music together. A new outfit for Hersher of Sentience called Turn Up the Music, which features a leather jacket, metal chains, and little phoenixes on her belt and cap. New weapons, a Valkyrie Resort event full with kittens, a new event Chibi Valkyries PvP with 4 new maps and 2 new types of game modes, a new emoji system, and much more. The version 6.5 update and all of the changes will be available on April 6th. So download Honkai Impact 3rd now and experience the V6.5 update. This game is pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie, so check the pinned comment and link to become a legend. Also, use code NEWCHAP to get 30 crystals, 2,888 asteroids, and 1 character trial card for free. So click the link in the description to try out Honkai Impact 3rd, and thank you so much to Honkai Impact for sponsoring today's video. Now, as you probably already know by now, CDPR has been doing just about everything in their power to try and save the reputation of their latest RPG, and by all accounts, they've done a great job. Cyberpunk 2077 had one of the most infamous launches in gaming history back at the tail end of 2020, but after dozens of updates and hundreds of bug fixes, the game is in a really good place and is much closer to the promised vision that we were all waiting a long time for. 87% of the recent Steam user reviews have been positive, and even according to the Steam charts, the game still averages over 13,000 concurrent players at any given moment, which is super impressive for a single player game that's almost 3 years old. The world is unique, the visuals and atmosphere are amazing, and the story is super engaging and keeps you going throughout the entire game, which is what CDPR is best at. So if you haven't played the game in a while, or maybe you skipped out on it initially, it might be a good time to jump in and get familiar with it, because it's only going to get even better from here on out. Despite all of the massive changes made to Cyberpunk over the last 2.5 years, we have yet to get a major paid expansion, and from the looks of it, some kind of big expansion was already intended to come out for this game, but since there was so much extra work that had to be done post-launch, CDPR obviously made the right decision in pushing it back in order to fix up the core game and make sure everything was as good as possible before diverting resources to new story content. The studio seems to feel like the game is in a solid place now, and I personally agree, because they've been putting millions of dollars into this new expansion, and according to sources, Phantom Liberty is the most expensive piece of DLC that the studio has ever worked on, which, let's be honest, should not be surprising given the star power that's attached to it. Now, it's still a little unclear just how much content that massive budget is going to translate to it, but still, Phantom Liberty has a lot of money behind it, and it's pretty clear that the studio really wants to prove that the last few years weren't a waste of time. Now, in addition to all of this new paid story content, CDPR is planning on releasing a major patch for Cyberpunk 2077 as preparation for the new expansion, which will feature tons of quality of life improvements, but we'll get into the exact details of that in just a bit. So regardless of whether or not you buy the expansion, Cyberpunk 2077 is going to look a lot different and a lot better across the board by the end of the year, which is exciting news. There have been questions about whether or not the quality of life changes are going to be coming before Phantom Liberty, or if there will be multiple patches before the expansion. We know that patch 1.7 is coming pretty soon, and will have a ton of adjustments in it, but as far as a specific date, we've been kind of in the dark. However, it was recently released by the Cyberpunk team, CDPR, during their financial earnings report, that they will be releasing new gameplay and the official reveal for the new Phantom Liberty DLC in June. So that will not only give us a release date for Phantom Liberty, but it will also provide us a solid time frame for the patch 1.7, which, like I said, will likely release earlier than the first paid expansion. So if they're finally going to pull off the curtains for Phantom Liberty, that should mean that the 1.7 patch is going to be releasing before then, which I think is really exciting. Now, it could be that they just release 1.7 and that launches alongside the Phantom Liberty update, but I don't think that's going to be the case, as I think they're going to want to get 1.7 out first, release that as a free update, and then after that is in the hands of gamers, then when they will release the Phantom Liberty update. Now, as for what to expect from patch 1.7, it's actually going to be pretty insane. Most of the time, we don't expect too much from patches or just updates for single player games, but CDPR has already confirmed a ton of new features coming with this patch, and it should be a pretty significant change to the game. Again, it seems that CD Projekt Red is releasing these quality of life changes before Phantom Liberty comes out, likely as a way to get everyone reinvested in the game and more interested in dropping more money on an expansion, which I think is a pretty solid marketing strategy. Maybe we'll find some Easter eggs for the Phantom Liberty update in the patch 1.7. It's hard saying, but according to the Cyberpunk team, patch 1.7 is going to feature a complete overhaul of the cop system to make the NPCs behave more realistically and really shake up the gameplay. This update will also add vehicle-to-vehicle combat to the game, which will lead to a ton of awesome new action encounters and make the chases much more dynamic. In fact, the director Gabriel described the changes as enough to give the game a whole new feel and dimension and make the city much more immersive. And Gabriel said, and I quote, "I'm really excited to see how those changes play out." The Cyberpunk 2077 director also previously mentioned a brand new melee combat system, as well as a bunch of new additions to the skill tree to make the moment-to-moment gameplay feel a lot better overall, as well as some changes to the max tac, which should correspond to the changes to the cop system. So overall, the game is going to feel a lot more alive and more immersive in basically every regard, which is super exciting for longtime players who wanted to see the game's core taken to the next level. Now, on top of all of that, there are expected to be a number of additions to the cyberware system, but the team hasn't really explained what they will do other than the fact that they want to expand upon it. In addition to the new gameplay elements, I'm also expecting update 1.7 to include a number of bug fixes and general stability adjustments in order to make the game run as smoothly as possible. Although unlike previous patches, 1.7 is expected to be more about the gameplay than the actual running of the game itself, so don't expect a whole lot of maintenance with this update. Even though update 1.7 is going to be jam-packed with new gameplay adjustments, there are a handful of things that haven't been confirmed that I and many other Cyberpunk players would love to see at some point in the future. For starters, I would love more interactions with the NPCs and generally more stuff to do around the city. Everything sounds so awesome with the quality of life updates coming to 1.7, and I'm really hoping that CDPR has plans to add more stuff to do around the city in the near future. I'm also hoping that they have plans to amp up the weapon customization going forward, because with all of the awesome gear in this universe, we really should have more attachments and gadgets available to use during combat. Now, some Reddit users have discussed the possibility of adding loot and weapons to the inside of abandoned cars, adding a little bit of randomness to the exploration, but also encouraging the player to look around more and be aware of their surroundings. And while we're on the topic of paying more attention to surroundings, why not add more takedown animations? By now, we've seen all of the existing animations a million times, so why not keep us engaged with some new flashy animations? This isn't the kind of thing I'd usually ask for in a single player game, but if CDPR is still supporting Cyberpunk and adding more content, why not throw some new visual stuff like that? Now, aside from that, the main requests from the community are just general quality of life things like animation improvements, as well as smoothing out the driving at some point before the Phantom Liberty expansion. But then again, if those things haven't happened yet, there's still a decent chance that they don't happen at all, which is a bit of a bummer. But at the same time, CDPR have already confirmed a sequel is in development, so hopefully they take all of the criticisms into account for their new project. There's also the modding community that I'm sure is going to make the driving a lot better in the future, and who knows, maybe they can actually take some inspiration from the mod developers and then make some of those quality of life improvements from modders official in the 1.7 update. Now, one thing that a lot of single player games have that's been absent from Cyberpunk 2077 thus far is a new game plus mode. While there doesn't seem to be any public plans for NG plus in Cyberpunk 2077, the team has stated on Twitter that they've at least discussed the idea. Now, not too long ago, the lead level designer for Cyberpunk 2077 tweeted out that New Game Plus is an incredibly complex feature to make. It's a rebalancing of the entire game from the enemies, the equipments, and the weapons and other items, which basically requires a bunch of testing and tweaking. The level designer stated that there's many skill checks in gameplay and dialogue, so what happens here? How would we handle / balance the attribute plus perk points? Which is like, I understand, but if other games do it, I don't see why CDPR can't make that happen. So it doesn't seem like it's completely out of the realm of possibility for the future. So if we cross our fingers super hard, maybe it will come alongside the Phantom Liberty update or just a future update after that. So as for patch 1.7, I'm expecting it to release sometime before Phantom Liberty. Given how much the team has been talking about it, it seems like a release date is imminent. Obviously, we know that's happening with the June showcase, but since we don't have a solid release date just yet, it's hard to say. We know that CDPR likely wants the update out long before Phantom Liberty drops, so that way people can get hyped about the base game again, and it gives them time to iron out any bugs that may be introduced with the 1.7 update. Plus, it is possible that CDPR wants to release another patch for gameplay changes, as well as stability before Phantom Liberty drops, so I think it's safe to say that the 1.7 update is kind of a prequel to the big expansion update, and since Phantom Liberty is set to release release sometime in the summer or fall seasons. I'm guessing patch 1.7 will come out at some point during the spring, likely before the end of May, but we're kind of just having to wait until June until we get the full showcase for Phantom Liberty so that they also tell us when 1.7 update is going to release. But who knows, by the time you're watching this video, you might already be playing patch 1.7, which I think would be super awesome. Overall, I'm excited for the future of Cyberpunk 2077. What started out as kind of a disaster turned into one of my favorite games in a while, and because of that, I cannot wait until we get our hands on Cyberpunk 2077's 1.7 update, as well as the big Phantom Liberty expansion. But yeah, guys, that is going to wrap it up with this video. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section. When do you think 1.7 update is going to release for Cyberpunk 2077? Is it going to happen relatively soon, or are we going to have to wait a little bit longer? And do you think that Phantom Liberty is going to release on time, or will that get delayed as well? Let me know in the comment section. Like the video. Thank you so much for Honkai Impact 3rd for sponsoring today's video. And until next time, this has been Wes, and I'll talk to you in the next one.